Okay, so if you look, yes, Gesundheit. If you look at the rubric that is stapled to the front of your writing, you'll find that nowhere on that rubric do I have any criterion for concept understanding. In other words, I'm not grading you on whether or not you really understand accurately narrative perspective, narrative shifts, imagery, and so on. It kind of comes through indirectly in some of the other criteria, but I'm not grading that directly. I'm grading mostly your writing. And remember, that's always the emphasis here. So, Muggs issues, you know about the Muggs issues. You know about claim writing. The first two criteria, almost every single person, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. So that's not a big problem. Integration is still a problem. And I'd like to address that by taking a look at this example here. I'm just going to read it through to you, and then we'll talk about, and maybe you can tell me why I like this one so much. In Scar, Amy Tan shifts to Ann May's perspective to distract from her spinelessness and emphasize her victimization. The first impression of Ann May the reader has is Su-Yan Wu describing Ann May as not stupid, but she has no spine. Su-Yan believed that Ann May lacked the element wood, and therefore could not stand on her own. However, Tan wants the reader to understand more about Ann May's hardships and build her character. So the reader can understand her victimization. Tan decided to shift to Ann May's perspective as a child. The reader does not blame Ann May for being helpless and fearful because she is a child, and people do not blame children for being spineless. Because the reader is not focusing on her spinelessness, it is easier to empathize with her victimization. Tan emphasizes Ann May's victimization by starting her flashback by saying that her grandmother told her that her mother was a ghost. Then, Tan describes how a pot of soup seriously injured Ann May. Instead of comforting her, Ann May's grandmother intimidates her by saying that her already made dyeing clothes and shoes are white, plain cotton because no one would miss her when she died because she was a child. Ann May's excuse for fear in this situation is that she is a child, so the reader understands the trauma of the incident better. By creating empathy for Ann May through her victimization, Tan makes the reader understand that Ann May is not actually spineless but traumatized from her abuse as a child. Any ideas of qualities of this writing that I like? Yeah. And when do I see spineless again, Ryan? Okay, so Ryan is correct that I don't have a lot of mixing of different ideas. So if I'm talking about spinelessness first, it arrives first, and then it is reminded to me at the end. And then we're talking about victimization. Victimization is second. You're correct. Everything's organized nicely. That is an attribute. What else, Morgan? Very good. So, and by the way, most of you doing this just fine. Quotation integration is excellent on these writings, and I'm very happy about this type of shift from your sentence to the other. If you're not doing this, and some people didn't, if I say merge this with your own sentence, make sure that you're doing that. It's very easy to do and very much improves your writing. What else? So far, you haven't yet hit the one that most people dropped. Mitch. Explain what quality of the claim is mentioned more than once in the actual writing. Oh, true. So nice integration because I do have victimization repeated, I do have spineless repeated. If I were to chart this, and I'm not necessarily going to do it, but if I were to circle all the synonyms or references to spineless, you would see how it's integrated throughout. Same thing with victimization. There's another word in the claim that is also repeated throughout the writing that you folks drop. Not quite, although that does drop sometimes, Chris, but that's not the one I'm emphasizing. Thank you. Amy Tan. Tan. This is a paragraph about an author, and yet most of you start with the author and then I never see her again. It's not a paragraph about Su-Yan Wu. It's not a paragraph about Ann May. It's a paragraph about Tan, first and foremost. And that's why I ask you to write your literary claims the way that I do, because you are focusing on a writer and the writer's craft. Literary analysis is about saying, this writer has done this thing to create meaning, and I understand how she works. And that's what the paragraph's about. But what you do is you drift back into elementary school into summary. It's very hard to integrate summary. It's very easy to integrate analysis. An analysis comes when you are stepping back and looking at the author do something. Follow your own claim. Use your claim as a map. What all of you have said, what Chris said, what Ryan said, what I've just said and April noted, means that this writer has taken her claim and said, this is a map of my paper. If I just follow this claim throughout the paper, I'm good to go. And she did. Let's take a look at the tan. Suyan believe, tan, tan. I could keep going. What other word is kind of corollary to tan that is implied in the claim that this author also brings out? Yes, thank you, the reader. After I read so many of yours, which are competent pieces of writing but don't quite hit this, I read this, it was like a breath of fresh air. I was thinking, yes, finally, I'm hearing somebody talk about Tan's relationship with the reader and how the book creates that relationship. That's what literary analysis is all about. So we've spent a lot of time crafting these one sentences, and you're doing an excellent job with these sentences. But now it's time to make sure that you're fulfilling the promise of that claim sentence by bringing it through. All right. I've said variations of that before, but questions? No? Good. Mitch? Oh, the two little arrows above or below means to close a space. You've included an extra space. And a lot of you, by the way, with the dash or the hyphenated names like N May or Jing Mei are JING dash space MEI. There should be no space. And I don't know if that's yours particularly, Mitch, but a lot of people, Ann May, AN dash space MEI. No, there should be no space. So that extra space is not needed. Those are closed space. Any other questions? No? Okay, then we continue.